Hello everybody, welcome. Thank you for watching this video. I'm No02 and it's here. It's finally here. Patch notes, the patch. The Children of the Worm expansion. It is live. I haven't gotten to play it yet. It's important thing to say, I have not played any of the patch. I haven't seen any of the content yet. Other than a little bit of Dan. A little bit of Dan that got shown off, right? So, as usual, please check the timestamps for things that might interest you the most. In addition to that, little disclaimer. In the past, Turtle Rock Studios' patch notes for Back 4 Blood have not always been the most accurate. Things in the patch notes that are saying it's gotten done aren't actually live in the game, and things that are not mentioned in the patch notes at all have been changed and they're live in the game. So just keep that in mind that over time things will be discovered and figured out, and there'll be for sure bugs and glitches and things like that we'll be encountering as we get time to sort of snap into it, like a Slim Jim. So let's go over the highlights. We'll go over the highlights and then we'll sort of dig into the card changes. And that'll be about it, right? So the general highlights, right? A bunch of bug fixes, bunch of blah blah blah, this and that, little tweaks and changes here and there. I scrolled through them. There'll be a link in the description of this video for these patch notes, so you can sort of, if you look through them more if you like. But I'm not the biggest fan of just like reading you guys a list of 100 bug changes, right? So the big new new features, right? The big new stuff that's here is that there's an entirely new Act 5, a 6-mission chapter, a new character, Dan. I'll have a separate video that describes him more in depth, but basically the way Dan works is the worse your team performs, the stronger he becomes, essentially. The worse your team performs, the stronger Dan and the rest of the surviving team becomes, as people provide buffs when they get revived and incapacitated and things like that. So, new campaign, new cards, blah blah blah, new weapons, etc, etc, new skins, blah blah blah. We all knew that was coming. New, all of it. This is the most important thing. This will be timestamped as the duffel bag in capital. How do I get the new cards? How do I unlock new skins? At this point, you probably already know, but if you haven't, or you're just coming back into the game, this is the most important thing that is not described at all, even remotely, in these patch notes. So unless you're like following their other social media or like digging deep, I went into the Discord and had to ask. Duffel bag item. New mechanic. Duffel bag item, which players can pick up and carry to the end of a mission for a reward. This is the only mention of the duffel bag. This is the only explanation of it. You know what that reward is? A card. One of the new cards. Or a new skin, or cosmetic, or banner, or what have you. The only way to unlock the new content in this newest expansion, Children of the Worm, you must find these duffel bag items. You must find these duffel bag items and escape with them. And these duffel bag items will randomly take up one of your slots. It'll take up either your quick slot, your support slot, or your offensive slot. One of the three. I don't know if they provide anything else. I haven't played the game yet, but for the most part, somebody has to pick it up and carry it out. And my understanding is if you carry it out, the entire team gets a random reward. So it can be a card or a skin or what have you. In one hand, kind of annoying. In the other hand, kind of cool. I'll have to play it and see how I feel about it. I like the idea that they're throwing in new mechanics, but it's basically busy work, right? As far as how to unlock future cards and things like that. Because at this point in time, most of us have a gazillion supply points. Unlocking new cards would be instantaneous for the most part. So, at least with this mechanic, they sort of make us work for it, in a sense, right? And there'll be a greater sense of progression as far as each time we get out with a duffel bag, we go, yes! A little surprise. So, we'll have to see how this goes. There's pros and cons for this, but this is very important. If you want the new content, cards, skins, what have you, you need to find duffel bags in mission and escape with them. And pray that it doesn't take up your offensive slot, because my understanding is that it replaces it. So, like, drop your grenades on the ground and stuff like that. So, other highlights real fast. The Wretch Slow got nerfed in No Hope mode. It used to be 75% movement speed reduction. Now it's 55% or something like that. There's a bunch of new cards added to the Swarm mode. The PvP mode, a bunch of new cards have been added to it. Not new cards, just old cards that weren't involved because they weren't sure how to balance it have been added. Bots should help more if you have been pinned by a sleeper. Fix the breaker getting stuck on Heralds of the Worm Part 2. That's one that I've had runs die to in the past. A deck duplication has been fixed. There has been new corruption cards added to the game. There is zero mention of these corruption cards, but there's new corruption cards in the game. And the one that I saw was like taking a break or something like that, and it was like your HP is automatically set to 60. You get a heal. You get to heal 10 HP a second, but after a short delay of not taking damage. You have 100% trauma resistance. You get an additional +2 lives, and your bleed out timer has a 150% a negative 150% modifier on it. So I think you bleed out faster. I don't know. But just like new corruption cards, they're not mentioned literally anywhere in here. But at least that one stuck out to me because it's pretty dang dramatic. Your HP is automatically set to 60. Pretty insane. So those are some of the general highlights. Some changes here. Bleed out difficulty increase. Bleed out increased by 100% and 50% on Nightmare, No Hope respectively. Blah blah blah. Here are the card changes. Into the card change. Battle Lust. Trauma heal increased to 12.5% from 10%. Little buff for Battle Lust. Bravado. Heal increased to 15% from 10%, now scaled by healing efficiency. That's probably the biggest thing about it, is it's scaling efficiency. Or scaled by healing efficiency. Breakout time has been buffed, I believe. Base time reduced to 1.5 from 2 seconds. So before it took you 2 seconds to break out, now it's 1.5. And this number can be modified by use speed and other cards like Slippery When Wet and things like that. Defensive Maneuver has been reworked to accurately reflect its new functionality of damage resistance instead of movement speed. I think that's like you get smacked by something for X amount of damage, you get a buff temporarily. Hired Gun. Cost of Skull Totems to 3 from 4. So a little buff. A little buff for Hired Gun. Copper gain per kill is increased to 2 from 1. Lucky Pennies. Bonus increased to 100% from 35%. Very cool, very interesting. Do we see Lucky Pennies be run in decks? Probably not. Probably not. Hazard Pay, Share the Wealth, and Money Grubbers will all probably be better than Lucky Pennies still. But if you're in the middle of a run and you come across a card box, right? Do you buy it in the middle of a run? It's a serious contender now, I think, especially at how early you potentially get it. On your mark, ammo gain increased from 7.5% from 5%. A little buff for on your mark. We love it. Pinata. This seems really strange to me. I don't think this is like really a nerf at all. So base item find chance reduced to 10% from 15%. That's a clear, obvious nerf, right? But now there is an item find chance that increases by 1% for each AI killed and resets it to its base when it successfully procs. So every time you throw something and it blows up 20 ridden, but you don't get any procs, that's a bonus 20% on top of the 10%. So it's basically, I feel like they reworked it in a sense that it's pretty much guaranteed to eventually generate resources for you. And the 10% is pretty good. I mean, so during a horde event, which is when you want to throw Pinata anyways, or throw something anyways, right? You're hitting like 10, 15, 20 zombies potentially, depending on how smart about it you are. And this is the situation, right? But chances are, during a horde event, Pinata would generate 1, 2, 3 items pretty consistently. And I think it's still going to do that. For the most part. Still going to do that. So Pinata, reworked. I don't want to say nerf, I want to say it's been reworked, because it's probably just about the same, I think, here. And in fact, in some cases, it's going to be even more reliable than it was before. If you felt like you're ultra unlucky with it. Scar Tissue updated the description to accurately reflect its 50% acid damage resistance. Has Scar Tissue been providing 50% acid damage resistance this whole time? There's still real no reason to run this card. Acid damage does like what? 2, 4, 3 points of damage a second? How often are you standing in it? It's a pretty niche card, and usually you just run out of the acid. And plus with the nerf to Wretches, being stuck in acid is going to be way, way less of an issue now. Slippery When Wet, the cooldown modifier increased to 50% from 20%. So this is a buff to Slippery When Wet. Typically, like the Slippery When Wet or the breakout cards, they have like a you can break out of a thing out of a pin every, whatever, 60 seconds or something like that. Well, this reduces the cooldown on that, is my understanding. Spiky Bits, damage decreased to 15 from 20. Corruption card updates, Biohazard, reduced fog effects. Toxic Spill, reduced fog strength. I didn't know that those were two separate things. They feel like the same thing to me. Objective item throw speeds decreased to 800 from 1,000. This is a weird change to me. This leads me to believe that there's like some sort of scenario in Act 5 where you can maybe throw... It's like an objective item is like the battery, a board to use to board up windows, things like that, right? You can't throw them quite as far now, I guess? I don't know. Medical grade taser. This legendary defibrillator has been renamed to EMT's jumper cables. Description now mentions the stun effect upon use. I don't think I've ever seen anyone use this or had it used before or used it myself, I think. No idea it stunned it at the end of it. Shotgun pellet damage ranges now correctly match their base damage ranges. Fall off now correctly starts at 7.5 meters at all tiers instead of just tier 1. Base damage reduced to 10 from 11, but the pellet damage increased from 9.8 from 8.8. So I think overall, if you're in your damage range, this is a buff. This is an overall buff to the Express Shotgun as far as its DPS is concerned, so that's great. Shotguns are already the best DPS guns in the game. It's important. Hordes now have an increasing chance to spawn Special Ridden as the act progresses. Starts at 50% and increases to 75%, was previously only 50%. When somebody gets grabbed by a sleeper, or if you have a timed horde that's just zombies, or somebody gets spewed on by a wretch, or not a wretch, a reeker or whatever, right? A horde event has started. You hear the howling. There was a percentage chance that a mutation would show up in addition to that horde, or along with it. That chance has gone up. Bots updates. Ammo drop behavior for bots has been modified. They actually buffed the bots here to some extent. Light medium rifle ammo drop reduced to these numbers here. It used to be these numbers. So it's just like the actual pile of ammo that they drop has been reduced overall, but notice this. Increased the threshold bots dropped ammo to 55% remaining max ammo. So before, bots wouldn't drop you ammo unless you were at 30% or lower. Now bots will start dropping you ammo when you're at 55% or lower. The drop check radius increased to 800 from 500 to reduce the odds of bots dropping ammo at the same time. So I think my understanding is if you're in this particular radius of the bots, the bots will only try to drop ammo one at a time, something like that. But increase the cooldown to 60 seconds. But I mean, for the most part, each bot individually can drop you ammo. So even though they reduce the amount of, they reduce the count and increase the cooldown, having them just, I mean, you can already just dump all the ammo out of your character, out of your inventory, and the bots will start dropping ammo for you automatically for the most part. So some reworks to bots dropping ammo. Nothing's really going to change here. They're still going to be the best possible teammates you can have for doing no hope solo and things like that, or just doing no hope in general. And you'll still have plenty of ammo over time. That's my understanding of this. We'll see how it plays out when we start doing the guides and stuff like that. Updated hit reaction animations for mutations, made improvements to hag hit reaction behavior. I don't know what this means. Made improvements to sleeper AI while pouncing on cleaners. The sleeper AI is so janky and so dumb, it goes through walls half the time, or at least visually it goes through walls. The Wretch Slow effect has been nerfed. Level random for the nursery random. Level randomization updated to vary the enemies in exit position after a party wipes and continues. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize if you get wiped in the nursery, you now know what's behind the doors you've already opened. If you remember. A bunch of swarm updates, right? A bunch of cards have been added. Cool. And then there's like a gazillion bug fixes for a lot of missions and things like that. Cool as well. This is the newest update. I'll be trying to stream this as much as I possibly can in the future here. In the near future. I'll be coming out with the, once we start getting settled in, start making the guides, the deck videos, etc. Very excited for it. Hope you are well. Hope you are too, and hope you're well also. I also mean that. And thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you in the future.